Hello everyone and welcome to my build video. It's not going to be much, but I'm here to show you my status build. I'm going to call it the Doomer Boomer. And so my status build is, armor is just kind of there, but these are my Relic effects. Skill cooldown is pretty necessary, I would think. Health is just nice to have, and elemental damage is good. Alright, so for my main weapon, it's the Sparkfire, because it inflicts a status effect, which is good. And of course, I use Creepy Mist, which makes it so the enemies in the mist will not only have a higher chance to get crit, but take 25% more status effect damage. I'm running Maelstrom. I used to run Fetid wounds, but I figured this would be better for the gun itself, because it increases the damage per elemental status on the target, and it also increases mod generation. I used to run Fetid wounds, it's nice, but I have Fetid wounds on my secondary now. I used to run Twisting runes for the bleed effect, but the bleed effect does like no damage, so it don't. I run the Song of Eafir because it inflicts slow, and it also inflicts its specialty status effect, which is another status effect to add to the pile. I run this axe because this axe is absurd. It's probably the main time point of the whole thing, let me tell you. So this thing is really strong if you yeet it at anything. With misfortune, it does a lot of extra damage per unique status effect on the target. Plus it applies slow, which is just kind of, it's nice to have, but this is mostly used for the slow and of course its specialty debuff. Now I would highly recommend at least keeping Creepy Mist, but Song of Eafir can be swapped out for basically anything that applies a unique status effect of some sort. Say like the Fargazer. I don't know if this technically counts as a status effect. I haven't tested that actually. So yeah. There's that. What else applies a unique status effect that we can at least put on? This, it applies fragmented, which is its own special status effect. So that would work too. Otherwise, you can roll, say, the Corrupted Rune Pistol. It doesn't necessarily, I don't think, apply a status effect. I don't know if it counts as one. It doesn't show up below their health bar. But you get the extra 10% damage received by the enemy anyway, so it's probably fine to use that. There's this build's a little more malleable than some of the others that you'll see. You could swap out the Sparkfire, but I probably wouldn't recommend it. If you're going to swap it out for anything, you're probably going to want to swap it out for something, say, like the Repulsor, for instance, because it applies its own unique status effect. But the reason I recommend the Sparkfire is because it's the only weapon that straight up inflicts an element on its own. No questions asked. And of course, for amulets and rings, we got the Energized coil for 25% extra stats damage, and then its explosion effect, which is hilariously weak and absolutely needs a buff. Because with the amount of status effect damage I'm doing, that's just doing like 90 damage once every 5 seconds, which is DPS is basically 20 damage at that point. Which means this thing is garbage, at least for its secondary effect. Otherwise, technically, you could run this thing. This thing can do better for bosses, especially tankier ones. And if you're going to run this, part of me recommends running the Red Ring of Death instead of, say, like, I don't know, Timekeeper's Jewel. That way you can get those status effects building faster. So I have the Shadow Misery for extra status effect damage, of course, the Timekeeper's Jewel for extra status duration, which is nice. Ahanae Ring, which you get in, I think it's Veteran Hardcore. Either way, you have to kill like a boss with Hardcore. And then the Stone of Malevolence, because you're inflicting elemental damage, that way you can use your mods more consistently. And then, of course, we're using the Ritualist, the new class added to the DLC, and we're using Miasma, so we can just status everything. And the bleed from this is significantly more effective than the bleed you get from Twisting Runes, which will compensate for the lack of bleed we have from Twisting Runes. We're using the Medic, though technically you can use the Alchemist, which is just as good, and if you prefer using that. But the prime perk has to be Ritualist, no ifs, ands, or buts. The next one you could technically use is Explore, because you can still get its bonus and it will affect your statuses. But this one's a little less consistent, which is why I'm not a big fan. And so I'm using Healing Shield just for a little bit of extra tankiness during fights. As for overall character stats, this is it. We'll just slowly screw through it. There you go. My traits, I got Affliction, of course, because that's my thing. I got Strong Back 3 because I just want to use this armor set. It's not necessary. Got Fortify, Vigor, Spirit, Expertise, Regrowth, Triage, Barkskin, Amplitude for AoE. This is basically a must. And I'd probably say that skill cooldown's also basically a must. Siphoners is nice to have. Basically, you don't really need Siphoner. Barkskin's nice. You don't really need ammo reserves, but I like the extra ammo with the Sparkfire because it burns through ammo really quick. The mod generation is nice to have. It's not necessary with Stone of Malevolence. And of course, I didn't know what else to relic to use, so I'm using the Resonating Heart. This is kind of personal preference in my opinion. And so we're going to give this a quick test see. Alright. We're going to afflict our stats back, blast it. And just on stat effects alone, it does pretty decent DPS overall. It would definitely do a lot more DPS if you were to add to it with the personal touch. So we're currently on APOC right now. I started an APOC campaign a while ago and I didn't actually do anything with it since. So, this is probably the strongest build I've ever set up. Of course, it's not turbo, APOC, tankiness, or whatever. I don't know why I'm clicking join brain damage. Anyways. But, yeah, it hurts things a lot. It'll take like 2 to 3 hits before it goes down. The concoction I like to run is, of course, this. You could probably run this though. But for this video, I will not be running a concoction. Because I'd like to display how the build works without the use of consumables. And here's how the build works. 1 hour. Everything in that area just instantly died.
Cut them open, Free!
A little bit of corrosive. It's good to go. And this is basically the build. Now, I don't have to do this. The build video is this is all I have to say. But I'm going to do a quick run through.
Kill the outsider!
And probably die here because I'm a doof and I heard them scream and yell at me, but I don't know where they are.
Leave us alone!
Yeah, you didn't see me miss that. Nope. Hey kids, wanna buy some drugs? Yep. Do this real quick because I will die shortly if I don't do that. Because I'm not being as careful as I should.
Whoa, it's over.
It is APOC difficulty after all. And after I'm done with this build video, I'll probably share my APOC tank. There's other APOC tanks, but I prefer mine. And so we'll go over here. Circle
Keep
around.
them away!
I kind of want to display how effective this would be against elite and APOC and potentially even Health. As you can see, this build's quite effective. Now, as a Ritualist with Amplitude, I like to go into this thing real quick and do that. And everything in the building, at least for the most part, except for like all the corner rooms, they all perish.
What the hell is going on here? They're out there.
Surround them!
The Ritualist is a little inconsistent, and sometimes statuses will not spread. Why, I don't know. I didn't make this game, so I can't tell you on that part why sometimes the statuses spread and sometimes they don't. But sometimes they do and sometimes they don't. That's about it. That's all I got for you. And so let's go down here. Let's take on this corrupted, guaranteed corrupted elite. Probably die a horrible, painful death.
No.
I know it's not the most elegant video you've ever seen, but I'm not an elegant person by any means. Alright, let's see what Daddy has in his shack. It's technical chainsaw massacre. That, I don't know what this is. Axes alone are made proportional to damage. Okay, I imagine that's expensive. As you can see, the damage is pretty good and somewhat hands-off. This corrupted elite is going down like a sack of potatoes. And there he is. There he's dead. He dies pretty fast, dies pretty well. I'll end the video here, and I hope you guys got a good showcase of what it can do. Now, thank you for watching, and I'll join you next time. Have fun, and good night.